Hey, what is going on, everybody? Oh, wait. Are we live? I can never tell. It's always so confusing. But this is a fun part. I think we're live. I think we're live.
We are live.
All right, cool. What is going on, everybody? I think that just adds to the confusion. We are definitely going to be testing Knull today. We're going to thoroughly test him out. We're going to have DLL on the call. If you're not familiar with him, one of the smartest players I know. He runs a channel that I enjoy watching to get better at this game. We've known each other since before there were war seasons. And we're going to go through thoroughly and test this guy out. I want to talk about his rotation. I want to talk about potential uses. And then, you know me, I love war. And DLL does as well. And I want to talk about where we think he might end up in the war. Like, where do you see him potentially being used? And what kind of answers do you think he might be solving? And then I think this guy's got defensive problems for all of us in store and questing and war. What do we think we might want to counter him with? So I really want to do a well-rounded conversation on this guy. And then 45 minutes from now, especially if you're watching this on the playback, you can scroll into 45 minutes. We will go over the abilities of a mystery champion whose abilities will be known to all in 45 minutes. I'm going to finish setting up a few things. DLL is on call, and I believe Fell will be joining us too, who also runs the channel, and I know is a big, big fan of Mr. Knull here. So welcome, DLL. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Yep. Thanks for that.
Let me share my screen with you.
So how much playing around have you done with them yet?
A fair amount. I wanted to get out an original video on him, and sorry, should have shared my screen earlier. I wanted to get out an original video on him, but there was a few things that just were not clicking, and you know, it's all under NDA, I guess, right? So I need to respect that. There's a lot of people that liked him way more than I did, way more. And I think some people still like him a lot more than I do, but I think there's nothing like testing him, you know, going through it with you and Fell and people commenting on the stream here to kind of point out uses and things like that. And then also, you know me, like I just now minutes ago took him to rank 3. So I was testing him at rank 2 unawakened. And so I think taking him to rank 3 and then I think awakening him is going to be a much more impressive champion than the rank 2 unawakened. And I realize how ridiculous that sounds as I'm saying it. But one of the things that kept being said is like his awakened ability is not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And I think we're maybe getting a little too close into the like needs to have category here. So I want to be careful with that on the stream. But I think the awakened ability is more than a just like icing on top of the cake.
I completely agree.
Okay. Yeah.
I was watching some streams where they were talking about how, well, I don't know if I want to name names, but there was one content creator in particular who was saying it's really nice to have, and another one who was like, eh. And I think that eh is from the perspective of long form content, like Abyss or Labyrinth, where you have all the time in the world to ramp it up. So why do you care about starting your ramp up? But I think you were talking about in the context of war. I think that the SIG ability is going to be absolutely massive. Let's just do it. I was contemplating awakening him and throwing the 6 stones into him and just starting off that way. I think while I'm kind of just refamiliarizing myself on how to play with him, see if you and Fell, because I think Fell is here now too, if you guys have ideas, I'm like, hey, no, try this rotation or whatever. I think I'm not going to awaken him yet. And then, you know, in like 10 minutes or so, maybe we can awaken him and take a look at it that way. Because I'm really with you on this. And I'm always like, it's hard, right? Because we're all creating content and everyone has like different time and perspectives and stuff. And no one's out there intentionally misleading anyone, right?
I really enjoyed all of the stuff that I saw on him. It was good to see all of it.
Absolutely. And that was helpful to me too. So let's just jump into it. And thank you everyone for being here.
You are currently sharing your YouTube studio with us.
And that's not what you want to see. It's not what you want to see.
I can see like half the screen in terms of the stream from there.
Let's see. What do I... Now I'm like...
He's just flexing his higher concurrent viewers on us, Fel.
Man, it hurts.
Do you guys know how to change what I am...
From Discord, what I usually do is share screen, and then it should give like a couple different options. Like I don't have much right now, but if I had,
I think I did it.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
What's hard is that Discord calls it a stream as well.
Yeah.
And so like the obvious option was to end stream, but I was like, I really don't want to somehow accidentally end the YouTube stream. Thank you everyone for being here. Mobius, Scott, Jason, what's up, dude? You caught DLL stream? Nice. I'm sure you enjoyed it. Wealth and knowledge, I'm sure, was shared. True Potential, Astro, what's up, dude? BK. Yeah, so as you guys know, on a testing stream, we tend not to interact with the chat quite as much as we normally do. We'll do our best still to look at questions, suggestions, and things like that. But I just want to address why I might not be talking with the stream quite as much. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And fella, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for being here.
Nah, I wouldn't miss it for the world. You know how much I love Knull.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Flavor of the month.
We'll go to where I think it's where I enjoy testing champions. I got this from Campo, and I know more and more people are doing it, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing.
Hey, Bryce. How's it going? Hey, PK.
So, with an unawakened Knull, I'm thinking 5-hit combos, get the Living Abyss debuff or what have you going, get close to the SP2 and throw the SP1, and then let Corruption start to build. And then after Corruption builds, probably end in a light, because hopefully I haven't made mistakes and I don't need to heal. Is that kind of what you guys are thinking here too?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
I was just thinking it might also be wise to ramp up with the heavies, because those heavies are 3 hits a piece, right? And don't symbiote hits have a higher chance of giving you corruption, or is that living abyss?
Yeah, that's a great.
Those are the only hits that give you living abyss.
Yeah, okay. So basically, you're going to want to maximize your hits that are symbiote. So if you go for a medium and then heavy, that's 4 symbiote hits instead of the regular 2 being your first medium and last medium.
Right. And Deadpool is actually a great one to test that on, because both his heavy and both of his specials can be heavy countered.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Yeah. So that might actually be interesting, because one of the reviews that I saw listed as a con that he has trouble where he can't land his heavy attacks.
Okay. So this is great. And thanks guys for doing it. Because what's funny is, like we said, I've kind of watched some videos. You guys have kind of watched some videos. I've played with him a little bit. And so I just completely skipped the, here's the basics of playing him. And so thank you for reminding us of that. And that was actually a great synopsis. There's no reason for me to reiterate it. Gigabob, does he need suicides? You know what? Maybe we'll try to test that a little bit today. I think this is one of those champions where, if you pull him and you don't run him, he's probably still good, but you're missing out a lot on it. It's kind of, for me, this is my intuition is that it's similar to Diablo. Yeah. I might be overstating it a little bit, but
I'm hoping it's more like Angela.
That's a good call. That's a really good call. All right, so let's go and do this. I'll try to focus on the heavies, but I have to say, even just that, it for me is already becoming a I don't know. I will say, going into this, I like this champion. I don't love this champion.
Yeah, I really reliance on recoil is a big negative to me. It's fine when champions mitigate it and are just better with it. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I don't like anyone being built where you think that they need it.
I also do think that may be playing a role in why, and it makes sense, right? Because we're all giving you our own personal opinions here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I want to end in light, right?
Probably. I assume for the rotation you're going for, that's probably ideal.
Yeah, because this is a relatively short fight for him.
Why is he not turned to that heal into a degen? Why did that not happen?
Awakened ability.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, so that right there is another part of why the awakened ability I think is more than just an ice cream, a cherry on top of the cake. If you're not familiar with that saying, I don't necessarily think it's a need, but I think it's more than just this like, oh, cool, you awakened him. Like, great. I think there's actual utility that you're going to want there. In fact, let's check that out. Thank you for reminding me of what it was.
See, I have mixed feelings about that part of the awakened ability specifically, because if this is a champion that you're already going to be spamming heavies with, then if you were using like just the Petrify pre-fight for Mr. Fantastic, then full despair reduction and then a 40% reversal could actually do more damage by reversing regen than his degen will do. And so his awakened ability could actually cost you.
So as someone who's just now, I've taken my Mr. Negative to rank 3, I used him in war, I'm very excited to get that video out. So as someone who's kind of going down, and it was interesting to me how quickly you mentioned Mr. Fantastic, I actually wondered the same thing, where I was like, wouldn't it be better to have it stay on? Especially because this is a champion. And keep in mind, guys, that he stacked a lot of armor breaks, and we're seeing this be talked about as a real positive of him, and it is. And I'm only running 2 of 3 in despair. But the way I'm going to try to look at this is like no one would complain about that with like Warlock. Like if Warlock was stacking armor breaks, I don't know, my hypothetical is getting a little off, but it feels like a really cool thing to have, I guess is my point. And like, yeah, you can't necessarily reverse it with despair, and that would be better if you're fighting like a Wolverine or something like that, right? I wonder how this interacts with Buffet. Do you guys know? Has anyone tested that?
It reverses it.
It does?
Sorry, it turns it into degen. I know that.
So it's any heal. So this isn't like the Penny Parker where we realize...
Sorry, I think it's any regeneration effect. So it should be. I don't know. For some reason, I was getting
it should absolutely do it, because Buffet is an instant, like 0 duration buff. It triggers Mystic Dispersion.
Yeah.
And it also triggers Morningstar's regen copy. So it should do that.
Okay.
Has anyone tested this?
Yeah, I was thinking about what's it called? That one node where they gain the passive heal, so I wasn't quite sure.
It should do that as well, though, because it does say effect. And they've been pretty intentional about that lately.
Has anyone seen this tested versus Fury?
Not yet.
Yeah, not that I know of.
That's a very interesting call. I was also wondering, have you actually tested him against Penny?
No.
Because I know the assumption is true accuracy, but we've known that Corvus has been bugged for a while.
Yep.
So I was wondering if his is actually something where he gains it on those hits, or if it's like baked into the kit and might get past her.
I'm pretty sure it's baked into the kit, but yeah, it's definitely worth testing.
So, sorry guys, I got so excited about this. I actually do not think it's going to work against Fury, but I want to see this, because this is what happened with us with Penny Parker. Phil, I think you were on that stream where we thought it was going to work one way and it didn't. Or maybe that was Jacob and Spin.
Oh yeah, because Corruption has to be active, and he purifies basically everything, doesn't he?
Corruption does have to be active?
Yes. Oh, so it's not going to happen this time anyway.
Yeah.
So you need a longer fight to test it then.
Or you just need to spam throw the special one early on.
Yeah,
you can pause it, and that's probably enough.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So let me do that over.
Maybe let yourself get hit a bit so you can just gain a bit of power and don't kill him too quickly.
Michael Stover, I do think Guardian can handle limited shock nodes, but it really depends on what you're looking at. He's much better if they're debuffs, because then he's not taking full damage and can heal from it. For something like EMP mod, he may be able to stay alive long enough to win the fight, but he's not great. Power gained successfully.
Yeah, I think...
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get this right.
Yeah, I think maybe just hitting him and throwing a special one might have worked better.
Well, yeah, just waiting it out.
What I want to see here, actually, is the SP3 triggers Corruption instantly.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
Not if you die first.
Yeah. We will get this.
Theory just hits a little too hard.
I'll do this one more time, and then we'll move on, because I know this isn't exactly riveting. We'll just do the SP1. But what I was considering is you send him to a second life, and then you throw your SP3. That should trigger...
Yeah.
So then you don't have to worry about corruption being purified or whatever when he goes into a second life.
Right. My only hesitation there is that then the effect has already been triggered.
Yeah.
And you're not blocking it like when you throw Archangel's Special 3.
Yeah, that's right. I have a feeling this is not going to work, but it's still worth a few seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because Oh, sorry, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to respond, because Air Zahid was talking about the recoil thing with, like, bleed and poison resistance, and says it's just it's clearly just to make them more recoil friendly. But the thing to remember is that Kabam does know what they're doing here, in that, like, they know how strong willpower is. That's why they nerfed it against Daredevil Hell's Kitchen. That's why they that's why Kingpin's healing is less effective. Okay, yeah, so he just shrugged the corruption, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which has been pointed out before, that it's a passive and he still gets rid of it. So, all right. Well,
Right.
I'm glad we...
Neurotoxins. Okay, well, it was worth testing.
That's what I think, yeah. I'm glad we still at least looked at it.
Yeah, but I think that Kabam clearly understands how strong willpower is, and so when they give a champion poison resistance, they are baking into the kit the assumption that this character is going to be healing constantly, and therefore they balance the rest of their abilities around it. Like Diablo, if he did not have 100% poison resistance and that damage resistance, probably would have better healing on his special 1. Like, I know they bake that stuff in. And so whenever I see something like that on a character, it worries me, because I don't think that they're just building it in to make it easier to use with recoil. I think they are also then somewhat nerfing the rest of the kit, because they assume this one is always going to be run with recoil, and they make him less worth using without it.
Yeah, that is a bit of a worry, to be honest. I think with Hercules, though, he doesn't really suffer that much without recoil, does he?
That's because he doesn't really have other healing to be balanced around it, and he's so broken that it doesn't matter if you reduce his regen a bit, or if you reduce his damage a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey, buddy.
Vega, would you mind testing to see how his heavy chaining works in the corner? I've heard that his heavy range isn't the best, and so I'm thinking if you can actually chain heavies in the corner, that could be a viable strategy.
Yeah. Yes, I will definitely do that.
It looks pretty solid to me, because it's not like... I don't think it backs him up much, which is the usual problem.
I fought him with Doom in EQ last night, and there's some interesting stuff with his heavy. In that I feel like this is when you're fighting him, but I think it does relate to this a little bit. Some people showed up. What's up, buddy? What's up, Knight? Thanks everyone for being here. AR Zahid, thanks guys. Jacob, how you doing, man? The heavy, if you go in early, sometimes like you almost like the graphic, you'll miss the graphic on these things. It does hit you. You can go in too early, and the I don't know what they're called, but the things he's putting out, they will hit you. But what's weird is there's a window or a time where they actually stop. You can run through them at some point, and I'm wondering if that's the quote unquote limitation on his heavy. I got hit there with on the double dashback. I was surprised at how much damage he was putting out for an unawakened Knull. I'll try to get Deadpool set up here with the heavy in the corner and kind of do what Fella's talking about. I'm still going to stick with the unawakened one here. Actually, no. Let's go ahead and move to the awakened, because I kind of want to see this. It's not a great test because the 6-star is a rank 3 now, and the 5-star obviously is just a rank 5. But yeah, we'll test out that heavy. Let's test that out.
Like, I do have some suspicions that he might still be decent without recoil, because part of the regen is on his special 1. And that's actually a good thing, because if the special 1 is balanced around that 5% recoil, then kind of like with Omega Red's special 1, it might actually be the key to making him sustainable without it. Because I've used Omega Red to clear difficult nodes before, relying on the special 1 instead of the special 2 or special 3, like that, and it's just slower, but it still works. If Knull can do that, then he might still have real benefit to people. Yeah, that spam looks fine.
Yeah, that looked okay, didn't it? He is
Alright, I've been made very happy.
He is getting pushed back, though.
Yeah, you probably will run out, like, once you get the 20 armor breaks, and if you use, like, Mr. Fantastic suppression so that they didn't gain anything, you would eventually probably back up too far.
The other thing that happens, and I didn't really think of it until playing him, though, guys, is because of that, you're not landing lights, which means you're not pausing corruption. So there is a price to be paid for it.
Yeah. That's interesting. There's definitely a lot going on with this guy. Like, I feel like it's gonna take a bit for anyone who has him to really kind of fully unlock what you want to be doing at any given time. And I do like that.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too, like as we're doing this, because like I thought the heavy spam and I was very excited when I saw it working. And then I realized corruption fell off. But I think like you're saying, it might be a situation where you're thinking like, okay, well, big brain, like maybe just don't like heavy spam, but you can't get 1 or 2 in there. Or if you think it's going to finish them off or something like that.
Or if you need like a lot of regen really quickly, then maybe the heavy spam is fantastic for that. Maybe you're dealing with like, because he has that degen resistance. Maybe there's a big degen and you're trying to, hold it off by doing a ton of lifesteal all at once. And then the degen goes away and you can like go back to something else.
Go for it, Phil.
Oh, no, I insist. Go for it.
No, seriously, because I have more of a question.
All right. I was actually thinking there could be a rotation you go for where for the first like half of your corruption, you purely focus on keeping that timer paused. So I'm talking like full medium combos, quick parries, maybe even light intercepting, right? But as soon as you get down to halfway in that corruption timer, that's where you just start absolutely heavy spamming, so you can reconvert all of your living abyss back, all your armor breaks back to living abyss in time for the corruption to wear off, so you don't end up having those unpaused armor breaks.
Everything you guys are saying makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's just Deadpool, but that's only a rank 5. It's only a rank 5 Knull there. And it felt really good. I mean, there's a lot of big red numbers and big yellow numbers. It wasn't complex, which I would like. I would like this a lot. And I feel like maybe this is part of what you both are saying here in a way is you can play this guy standard. You understand how his mechanic works there, right? Like why you want to end some combos in a medium or in a light, or why you want to throw your heavy. You're regenning. And then if you really need to step it up for a more complex fight or node or defender or something like that, you can tailor him to that. I was kind of seeing it as a negative, to be honest. Like, and you guys know I like Strife. And I'm not saying that he is Strife, but like I'll often say when I'm trying to speak positively of Strife, like, oh, well, he is an evade counter, but you have to use like certain hits in his combo or something like that. And so I was kind of seeing that as a potential negative of Knull, because I know it's all dependent on how you're looking at it, right? You could say that's a really cool thing about Strife is that he can evade counter, or like Night Thrasher. But then if you don't like them, you can say, like, yeah, I know, but they're not a pure evade counter like Professor X is. So I'm liking him more than I thought I would. I want to take this on. Then I do think I want to awaken that 6-star, because I think the awakened ability just is so helpful for getting into this right away. And DL, like you pointed out there, and Fel, you pointed out, I think the heal, just removing the heals, I think more often than not, it's going to be a good thing. And I'm wondering about the unstoppable and unblockable. It's when corruption kicks in, right?
I think so. Let me check that.
Yeah, it's when it activates.
I know that's a defensive thing. Like, I know fighting him, that's not fun. But, I mean, it's for 2 seconds.
It's significant.
Yeah. And you saw how hard that SB2 starts to hit. And we did not stack that many armor breaks. So,
right.
QWERTY, is Domino good and worth it to rank 5 and Awaken without a synergy team? If you think she's going to help you in content, like if you really like her, is she good? Yes. Is she worth it? For me, it's always one, if you enjoy the champion, you're going to play them, you're going to learn the nuance, and she can do a lot. You're talking about rank 5, so I think you're going with 5 stars there. And she was really helpful to people in, I think, like Act 5 and I believe in Act 6. So I would think, yeah, if you really like her. The synergy teams is a big deal, though, right? That's a big part of it. But if you like her, if she's going to help you, then absolutely, in my opinion, yes. What's up, Campo? How you doing, dude? Chuck, great to see you. Great to see you. And Chuck did a good, I think we have a good answer there. All right, let's go and fight this Venom the Duck. Let's do the unawakened 6-star.
I get what you were saying about the whole evade thing, or in terms of how good he is at countering evade. And I'll be honest, I was on the exact same page when I first heard of that in this kit, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've grown accustomed to Professor X just completely shutting that off at 25 charges, and I don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how practical it actually might be. Because, do you remember back in the day, before there were really all those true strike, slow champions, the way you deal with evade is kind of just by going for, never ending your combo, right? Just going for medium, light.
Yeah. Yep.
So I feel like that's very much what you can do with Knull, because neither of those mediums are going to trigger evade. So you can do a full combo relatively safely, but even separate from that, there is definitely a way to use those mediums for certain evade instances. Like, I think I was talking earlier about how if you stun the opponent, or if the opponent can be stunned for that full duration, like there's no limber or anything like that, you should actually be able to just go for like a light, medium combo, and you won't have to worry at all. Or you can kind of mess with that a bit depending on if it's Mix Master or something like that.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It's not exactly the same, but have you seen BMCG, some of his war videos lately? Some of the stuff he's doing with Cosmic Ghost Rider, and it's just about tailoring your rotation and your combos to what the champion can actually do. I don't think that makes it easy, though. But I hear you. What I'm wondering is if, you're using him and you clearly want to get corruption going, and you're pausing it with your light attacks. And shoot, so I don't think it matters for the testing, but there's been more than one time where corruption's triggered and I'm still using mediums. It just takes me a second to catch on, because it's his medium attacks that are the evade counter, correct?
Medium, heavy, and L1. It's all symbiote hits. So whenever you see one of those like black, red, gunky looking guys flying towards the opponent, that's a symbiote hit that can't be evaded or auto blocked, if I'm correct.
So, it seems to be, obviously the armor break is a huge source of his damage, but you're wanting that from the corruption, and then the corruption is also your heal counter. And now, I mean this in a positive way, like the game's just becoming more and more complex, and I'm interested about this in like War and Act 6 and Act 7 and, Grandmaster's Gauntlet, these sorts of content. You need an evade counter, but you also need him to be in corruption. And you need the armor breaks, but your evade counter is coming off mediums and heavies and special ones. What's the theory on trying to maximize corruption and armor break while still being an evade counter? Like, what are you thinking there?
Can I be completely honest here?
Yeah, please do. Always.
I think people are way too focused on keeping corruption paused, I guess, or way too focused on that L2 rotation. Okay. Now, I've made no secret of the fact that I think his superior rotation might actually be L1 based, so just spamming L1s. And so based on that, you actually want to be using those mediums, like I said earlier, so you can reconvert armor breaks back into Living Abyss, so that when the second corruption timer from using your L1 while you're already in corruption runs out, you're immediately going to get those armor breaks back again, right? And so I see that as just being a loop over and over again. You're re-triggering corruption, and all your armor breaks are coming back. And so based on that, you actually want to be using enough mediums and heavy attacks so that you can convert those armor breaks back into Living Abyss. And so I think the key is figuring out how you want to balance light attacks and medium and heavy attacks. So going for medium light mixed combos might not actually be such a bad thing.
What's up, guys? Dan, you were Dan yesterday. What's up? Dan changed his name here. What's going on, my friend? Fel, everything you just said makes so much sense to me. And so, again, while we're being honest, this is why I did not put a video out on him on the day the embargo was lifted. Is I read through his abilities, and I was like, oh, okay. Corruption is an opportunity for you to obviously do this thing with the heal, but it's a way for you to continuously be building armor breaks. Like, think of it as like a currency.
Lex was talking about it that way.
Who was?
Legacy. He was talking about like going in and out of corruption as part of the ramp.
So I really liked his video. It was helpful to me. Watch. I'll try to do what you're saying, Fel, and I'll show you like what kind of was working, what was happening though, and it might just be that I wasn't. It was like, you know, like you're halfway to solving the problem, and so it looks like it's a terrible solution. But if you really start to get there, you know, it will be a great solution. I think that might be what's happening, because I was reading him more as like, this is a currency and you're going to keep trading it back and forth. And then in doing that, you're going to be healing more, right? But you'll also, you'll eventually build your armor breaks really well that way. So Fel, just to make sure I understand, and DLL too, of course, are you guys thinking I should go to the SP3 first? Building the Living Abyss or whatever it's called, you know, mediums and heavies, SP3, and then just refresh the SP1? Or are you guys thinking just start off with the SP1?
I really think you should focus on the L1, because my entire rotation hinges on being able to reconvert all of those armor breaks. And so if there are too many, you're not going to be able to do that. And if you're ramping up all the way to the L3, odds are you're going to be gaining too many of those Living Abyss debuffs, especially with his Awakened ability. So the sweet spot I think I've kind of identified for myself, and that rotation I was talking about, is between 30 and 40. And that's where you can keep them up, still have good damage, good utility, and it really brings out what I think I really love about Knull, which is the fact that you ramp up at the very beginning of the fight, then you never need to ramp up again.
All right, let me see if I do this correctly.
I'm going to have a really unsatisfying answer, which is that I think it depends. My initial impression of him, he feels closer to Hyperion than anybody, in that he's going to have a couple clear damage rotations that people focus on the most early on. But I think that there's going to be a lot of flexibility as we keep getting to know him. And it's really going to change fight by fight, because I mean, you've let me opine on this before with Hyperion, that like I really think that he's a lot more flexible than he's given credit for, and knowing which special to use when, and when to use the heavies, and when to heal, etc., is a huge part of playing him. That's kind of the impression I'm getting from Knull.
Yeah. I think I get that, and I think I agree with that a lot. And honestly, if I'm, well, being completely honest, part of the reason I think I'm so hung up with that L1 rotation is because I have grown less and less fond of champions with L3 rotations.
You know what though? Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you guys, and I know I'm doing it now, so I apologize. Did you see what happened there though?
Yeah, the corruption timers seem to run off very quickly, right?
Yeah, but what it didn't reset the armor breaks. Like, do you see how I'm now somehow down to 1?
Yeah, Lag said something about that with
yeah. So
I think he said something about a bug.
Yeah, I don't think he would mind me talking about that. And I don't think it wasn't like he and I had this in-depth conversation. But because and I can tell you, I'll do everything I can, and I won't break my NDA. Is I was playing him, and I was like, oh, I think this is really it. And you're just gonna like trade this currency back and forth, and you're gonna stack so many armor breaks. But this is exactly what kept happening. And everyone else was like in love with him, thinks he's great, and I do think he's great. But no one was mentioning this, and so I'm like, okay, there's just clearly something I'm not getting here. And then he mentioned this, and I was like, wait, no, that's what's happening to me too. I don't know if this is correct. And to the best of my knowledge, that has not been addressed. And so I'm very curious if this is the intended result or if this is a bug of some sort. Is this Fel and DLL, is the result you just saw, is that what you thought would happen? Because look, we have 2 corruptions up right now, but we lost all those armor breaks.
I think it might have something to do with the corruption timer going off as you still have one of your corruption timers on. Like as in you having 2 active corruption timers at the same time. And that's kind of why I think I was saying earlier, and I think this might remedy that issue, why you ideally, once you get down to halfway in that timer, you want to stop pausing it at all, so you can make sure that your new timer activates when your old timer is already over, so you don't have that weird interaction with the conversion there.
So you're thinking...
I still think there's something wrong there. Sorry.
No, and we're going to talk over each other all the time. So I want to make sure I understand what Fel's saying, and then DL, let's go to you. Fel, you're saying, no, you actually think this isn't how he should work. Like the way you read it, this fits well within what you were assuming.
No, not at all. I don't think this is how he should work, nor was how I read it as working. Okay. But I think this is probably how he's going to stay working because of some interaction between the corruption timers. Which
happens all the time in this game, right? Where we're like, okay, this isn't how it sounds, but this is what's happening. Let's go back and try to figure it out. Like DLL, I think you guys just had a boss fight like that with like Warlock and shutting off like an ability.
That should not have happened.
Yeah, it shouldn't. But then you went back and you're like, okay, here's how it happened. You can explain it, but it's not how it should have happened. So DLL, what are you thinking there?
So I was just watching back from the stream, and you very clearly have 12 Living Abyss debuffs and 16 armor breaks. And you throw a special one, and then you go to 15, like you clearly are converting on the hits, armor breaks into Living Abyss debuffs. Because you're up to 10 armor breaks and 19 Living Abyss debuffs. And then I think corruption hits during the special one from the previous timer. And you, I think, are also landing a hit that's converting 3 armor breaks into 3 Living Abyss. Mm-hmm. So you were at, I think, what did I say, like 19 and 10?
Yep.
And then the 10 drops to 7, and the 19 goes to 3. So it's like the conversion of the armor breaks happened and you got the 3, but because that happened at the same time that corruption hit, you lost all 19 of those, and they were not turned into armor breaks like they should have been.
Yeah.
I don't see any way to justify that other than something in the coding is wrong.
You're much better explaining wow, is that English? What is going wrong, in my opinion.
I had the luxury of doing a frame by frame, so
thank you.
Could help. But yeah, something is wrong.
I feel like something's wrong too. I'm wondering if it matters. Like it does matter. It matters because we want the game to play the way it's supposed to. But
I mean, losing 20 20 pieces of his ramp is pretty bad.
Phil, I think I'm trying to do what I think you're saying, and it's proving really difficult. Not that it can't be done, and I think if you're really familiar with Knull and you really understand him, I think you can probably do it. But it's not easy, and this is not a easy. This is a relatively simple fight. Like, I'm not having to deal with nodes or anything overly tricky from this duck.
Yeah.
But this is how this game works too, right? Is we accept kind of the quicker, easier things, and then someone like you comes along and is like, here, if you do this, and then we work at it and we get there.
Yeah, BMcG is saying the same thing, that Legacy ran into this. And I saw a note on Cam's video that the symbiote synergy is not currently working correctly with the modified attack thing we were talking about.
Yeah, I'm really bothered by that. But, no, I am bothered. Right? Like, I just did the State of the Game video, and this is where I was like, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that this is okay. Like, we're content creators. We're people who play the game. We should be held to a much lower standard than the people who actually create it. Like, when you put this out, it should work. Thoroughly test champions. Thoroughly test this stuff. I know they have schedules and all that, but like, maybe don't do it. Like, can you imagine a car company was like, hey, this new car is supposed to come out today. Well, sir, the seatbelts and the brakes don't work. I don't care. It's supposed to come out today. Like, again,
we have a schedule to keep.
Exactly.
We have a reputation to maintain.
We have investors, gosh darn it. Like, again,
Thumps the table.
It's a little bit different because people will die in that scenario, and this is a video game. But it's like, maybe sometimes the schedule is not more important than the thing actually working. And so it bothers me. It bothers me because, like you said, I was like, oh, that's going to be, I think, potentially really cool for Venom Pool, right? The modified attack. And here we are. We're like, no. Maybe in a couple months. I don't know.
Because it should be amazing. I know we had this conversation in the Discord, but just to recap for people who weren't there, the significance of the Knull synergies affecting modified attack and not base attack is massive, because most symbiotes scale with Furies, which historically there's been a huge problem with the Cosmic class, where you use boosts, you use recoil, you use all these things, and they are additive, not multiplicative with Furies. So like with Hyperion, if you throw his special 3 and you get his 3 cosmic charges, if I remember correctly, it's like plus 150% attack. But if you were also running Double Edge and Liquid Courage, you get another 60%, but it's a total of 210% extra. It's not a 60% multiplied by that 250 you have. And so he just does not benefit a lot from them. And that's even before you start throwing heavies. It's why champions like Ghost and Corvus and others that function on critical hits and crit damage rating, or armor breaks like Cosmic Ghost Rider or like Knull, benefit so much from these boosts to base attack. But if that synergy for the symbiotes was just, they get 10% extra attack, then that would be important at the start of the fight and useless once they get ramped.
Which I think is...
But the modified attack means that even as they build up a ton of Furies and other bonuses, it should keep benefiting them the same amount. And that's really, really cool that they finally did something like that to like recognize, this is the problem with this particular mechanic. But it's kind of unfortunate that it doesn't work right now.
and that's why it frustrates me so much, is because I feel like it was very intentional. Because when you see modified attack, it's intentional, and I think you're saying like it addressed like this very specific situation, and making Knull and the symbiotes and working together and those sorts of things. Like, to me, it just feels intentional. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing. But if you write the word modified, you had to choose to write the word modified.
Right.
It wasn't
Somebody
like,
had a great thought.
Yeah, it wasn't like autocorrect was like, and then we're going to put modified in here. Let's screw with people. Like they had to do it intentionally. Oh, I see the time, and I told people we would do this, so let's go ahead and do it. Thank you, everyone who has shown up. We're going to review the abilities for a mystery champion, mystery being MIST. I find it funny. It's not that funny. And thank you everyone who's here. K-Dog, OG Highline, Mr. Belding, and so many more. BMCG, we talked about you and you showed up. Jay Will, what's up, my friend? Let's go ahead and do this. And we will, maybe we'll get back to testing Knull afterwards. I don't know. Let's see how long this conversation takes. Because I actually think there's some pretty cool stuff here to talk about. So there you go, guys. There you go. There you go.
Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, completely unexpected.
Whoa, what? This guy? Who knew? All right. So we've got Mr. Karnak here. So everyone on stream, what's up, PWF? So for those who don't know, Fel and DLL, this is the first time they've seen it. So I'm going to kind of talk this through. I have highlighted things that to me seemed important, that are either a change or it's just important in general. Let's give DLL and Fel a few minutes, though, to register what they're seeing here. Because, again, this will be the first time that they have seen it. So we've got Karnak. I actually kind of am excited for this buff. So keep that in mind as we're going through. One of the first really cool things, I think, is this no longer is his 65% resiliency to poison shackled, meaningless things such as signature abilities. That's really cool, right?
Kind of like with Nebula, they folded it into the base.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that, yes, that's a great comparison. This is cool too. Is I don't remember exactly how they wrote everything, but we'll get through it. So focus charges, crit rating, and granting the ability to deal damage through blocks. Not so bad. This is a big deal, guys. 30-second passive fury. He has access to one. It's off his special too. It does stack. It's stackable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that means that. I'm sorry. There's
go for it.
one Karnak in AQ that's on power reserve and strike back. It's the bane of my freaking existence, and this is going to make him so much worse.
Dude, I take that every. Usually it's in the morning. Every once in a while, we clear through quickly enough where I can get it done before I go to bed, and it just feels so much better because I fight. I can't. I hate him. I hate.
Yeah.
You're like, how am I hating him? Yeah,
he's
you're like,
so simple and it's so annoying.
I feel so much better about myself right now as a player because I'm often like, why am I struggling against Karnak? But it is so frustrating. Okay, good. Thank you. I feel better.
Yeah, I hate him so much.
He has the True Strike off the SP1. It's not a bad True Strike anymore. So this is pretty cool. And then, okay.
Does it apply on activation?
Let's see. I didn't check to see if that is in the text.
That was one of my biggest requests.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the coolest things with like Sorcerer Supreme is that her slow is right on activation. Notice Disorient. I wanted to highlight that because we are seeing that a little bit in the game. That is what I think cancels out the reverse controls of Mr. Negative, right? I believe it is.
Pretty sure it also screws up his evade even, since it reduces ability accuracy. But yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
And he can't gain any light energy, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so it shuts him down in some ways. All right.
Yeah.
Sad.
So these are the strengths. I'm trying to go a little slower to give these two guys the ability to read through it. I guess you guys could also maybe pull it up. But all right, here we go.
Oh, it's a True Strike buff.
Let's see.
That's gross.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Meaning as opposed to a True Strike passive, correct? That's what you're pointing out here?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of skill champion... Well, I have two feelings on this because a lot of skill champions do have passive effects, which is better for them. But at the same time, I've always felt that the Mr. Fantastic skill synergy with Massacre and Night Thrasher is weird because it pauses buffs, and very few skill champions have buffs. So if you can run him with some of those champions and pause that True Strike buff by landing hits, then this is better. But yeah, I'm just conflicted.
So let's get through a little bit of this because I think you're gonna end up coming back around on this, or conflicted, or what we've talked about a lot of the kind of Venn diagram of this sort of stuff, where we're kind of getting to the point now in the game where it's like, okay, cool, I've got a skill champion with that counters evade. I have one who has a True Strike. I have one who has a slow, and then I have them that do it through passives. And it's like, because there's enough situations where you're going to need that differentiation where one will work and one won't. So, okay. And then they're like weakness, energy. Okay. So you can't fight Magneto with this guy, guys.
Yeah, I love how they keep putting stuff in like that, where it's like, turns out this champion is weak against members of the class with advantage against them.
Yeah, he also won't make you coffee in the morning or get your newspaper. It's a total weakness of...
preposterous.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. So he does have...
BMCG says it is still a passive.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering, BMCG, because I thought I recalled that it is a passive, but it clearly said buff there, and I'm wondering if we get to the SB1, if it will show that it is a passive, but I couldn't remember. That's why I was like, I'm not sure here. So the physical resistance, this isn't bad, but to kind of keep in mind, I think Rolk at rank 3 gets like almost 300 physical resistance from just one heat charge. So
Mr. Fantastic has about 1,000 just base. So yeah, that's not a ton.
So yeah, I just wanted to keep that in mind. It's highlighted. It's nice, but this isn't like, whatever. Maybe it'll save some people. Block proficiency, that's, again, not a nothing, but it's not, I don't think it's making your day.
It's kind of a nothing.
I know. But it's not, it doesn't say nothing. There's a number there.
Knull is 44th percentile block proficiency, and he has almost 4,000 block proficiency on his base kit, and that's below average.
All right, let's be nice to Karnak. He's doing his best. All right, we've already established he can't fight Magneto. Let's be nice to this guy. Incoming non-damaging debuff suffers 60% duration. It's there.
It's there.
It's there. I think you're happy that it's there as opposed to not, but it's not. This isn't like Elsa, right? This isn't replacing Elsa for you. So here we go. BMCG, you're making me laugh, dude. Yeah, typos, incorrect information. What? Okay. Thoughts? You can run Local Courage and Double Edge, obviously, with this poison resistance right out of the box. They're making a big deal that it's not part of the SIG ability. I do think it's nice. I'm glad they made it there. I think it's good. They're making a big deal about it. Mm-hmm. All right. So focus charges. He's going to gain them every 12 seconds. He's going to can get up to 3. I'm kind of seeing this. The way I'm reading him is this is almost going to be like his currency, and you'll see as we get through it why I'm saying that. He loses a charge if struck by a special attack. So if he gets hit by a regular attack, it's going to be paused, right? Quarter is paused for 10 seconds time struck by he's struck, but he will not lose them unless he's hit by a special attack. So that's pretty cool. At 1 charge, you're going to get a pretty significant crit rating increase. At 2, basic attacks can land a critical hit into the opponent's block. This will come into play. Keep like this hitting into block with him. Critical-based abilities will not trigger through block. So this is not like Shang-Chi. I think that's part of why that's maybe there. And then at +3, basic attacks have a 50% chance to inflict a burst of bleed damage equal to 30% of the damage dealt. Now, I think a lot of that's going to be based on like how big is this damage dealt. I'm currently not seeing that as like this massive thing, but you're going to see how he can kind of use this as a currency. Let me give DLL and Fel a chance to say something on this +3 charges. And guys, you've only seen a portion of the kit, so if you end up changing your mind, I get it. Because the reason I'm asking is at this moment in reading it, I was like, that doesn't seem like a big deal to me. I don't see myself dying to get to +3 charges.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
I'm kind of curious about the 2+ thing, though. Does that mean that he like crits but doesn't trigger like cascading failure, or he crits but doesn't trigger Kitty's prowess through block? Like, does that apply to node abilities or defender abilities as well?
That's a hell of a question. I think that's something we're going to have to test to find out. I don't recall anyone asking that, so I don't think we have an answer on it. That's a really good question.
Sorry, go for it.
No, go for it, Phil.
I'm also thinking, just looking at the heavy attack thing, it says down there as well. I'm mainly looking at, sorry, I was considering 2+ charges there. For 3+ charges, that just looks to me a lot like Daredevil Hell's Kitchen's L3, where he gets, Righteous Wrath or something like that.
Yeah.
You were saying that Karnak gets a Fury from his L2, right?
Yeah.
30-second Fury.
Yeah.
So I could see that being quite nice to combo with the 3+ charges.
Yep.
Unless you need to use one of your charges in order to get that Fury. And then from there, you need to wait 12 seconds to get the charge back, which would be 18 seconds in your big damage, big bleed phase.
Okay, so it may have been an unfair time to ask you guys that question, and so we'll kind of keep going through here. But so you're saying as long as Karnak has one focus charge, he will no longer lose his increased critical rating when being struck by basic attacks. I believe this is a change with him. I didn't really play Karnak much as a basic character, but I believe this is a change, and it's a nice change, obviously. So this is where Fel was kind of getting to. Is the heavy attacks will consume one focus charge, and this is why I was talking about it like it's a currency. And why I'm wondering about if getting to 3 is really a big deal. Like if maybe you don't mind cashing in your currency. So it's going to consume one focus charge to inflict a stacking 20% fragility debuff, right? And attacking a fragile opponent. So if they have this debuff on them, grants a 525 critical damage rating and reduces block proficiency by 50%. Again, remember, hitting into the block does appear to be part of this guy's kit and why things you're wanting to do. This attack does not consume a focus charge if the opponent is intercepted, recovering from the use of special attack, or charging heavy. So if you can manage to land your heavy via one of those ways.
Yeah, they pulled a crossbones again.
Yeah. As pointed out, and I want to give credit where credit's due, I saw this. This was not my idea. I saw this somewhere else. Karate Mike has brought up that he is of the opinion crossbones is still not working properly this way, though. So we're going to have to see if Karnak works properly or not, because I do think this would be a really nice way to not have to cash in your focus charges, getting you to the 2+ a little bit quicker. So here's the SP1, and this is what BMCG was talking about. Sorry, I'll get through the specials and then I'll ask you guys questions. It's not fair to ask you guys questions when you haven't seen the whole kit. The special one, the True Strike is passive, as BMCG pointed out. Thank you. You can pause it. In DLL, you were talking about this earlier. Knocking down the opponent will pause the True Strike passive for 3 seconds. As you're seeing, you can land the heavy. There's a benefit to landing that heavy, and you will not have to cash in your focus charges too. So I'm foreseeing that. Now, this will take some high-skilled play, and I know that was some negativity about these champions with a lot of the heavy countering, but we get the champions we get in this game. That's also a pretty lengthy True Strike already. Here's the special too. So there's a 100% chance to gain a passive Fury effect, increasing attack by a decent chunk. It does stack. It's for 30 seconds, and then this Furious pause for 5 seconds each time. Again, the opponent is knocked down. Again, you can do that through your heavy, and you can do that and not lose your focus charges if you're doing that intercept or punish it or something like that. So, and then they kind of wanted to point this out, that the Fury scaling with the opponent HP has been replaced by value. So you're just going to have a straight Fury. He no longer cares how weak the opponent is. And then the special 3 is 100% chance to inflict a disorient debuff, reducing block proficiency by 50% and defensive.
80, holy crap!
Yeah, that's not nothing. That's not nothing.
That's the strongest disorient we've seen yet.
It's yeah, that's right. The other one's concussion. Yep. So I think that's a thing. So then the signature ability to begin the fight with one focus charge, which is part of quote unquote his ramp, right? Because they're going to happen every 12 seconds. So having it just start off with one feels to me like a big deal, because 12 seconds isn't that long. So if you've got this, then 12 seconds into the fight, you're already at 2. And if you're able to then land your heavy, you're getting that fragility debuff on the opponent, and you haven't had to cash in a single charge. I like I said, I'm very intrigued to play this guy. 100% ignore 100% of the opponent's positive physical resistance, and then this is where we talked about striking into the block. Remember, I was like, there's a reason why this keeps getting put up there. There's a reason I'm highlighting this. Striking the opponent's block grants Karnak 110% of the power an unblocked attack would grant. So I think I can see a situation where we're hitting into the block. We're already reducing their block proficiency, right? And I think there was something else into the block, and now you're increasing your, you're getting more power from it. And I think this will help you potentially get your SP2 stacked, that Fury off of it, assuming that is really worthwhile. So they're saying striking the block with confidence, know your crit damage with the 2+ focus charges. That's the other thing. Thank you. I'm glad it's like they wrote that there for a reason. And power gain through Karnak signature ability will add up. I want to show you guys the synergies just so you can see them. So I missed something on Nebulas. It seems like I thought Nebulas weren't that exciting, but I'm looking at this and I'm thinking these aren't that exciting as it really is. Bad. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
These are just, they don't matter at all, pretty much.
All right, and so I would like to let's start off with DLL and then go to Fel, and we'll kind of make it a bit of a conversation. And chat, if you guys have questions, I see there's some being asked here. We'll try to get some of the questions asked too as we talk about Karnak.
Yeah, so a bunch of thoughts here. For one thing, the fragility thing seemed really bad to me at first, but assuming that you can back them up into the corner and then spam heavies as they, or like just if you can land a bunch in a row without consuming the focus, then that actually becomes important. Because 525 is not a lot, but you know, if you get to 1500, then that really starts mattering. I also noticed that his critical rating boost is way lower than it used to be. Like focus used to give 4700 critical rating almost, and now it's, you know, a little bit less than 2600. I wonder if they maybe improved his base crit rate because it was not awesome. I also wonder if they updated Medusa's synergy with him, because hers currently says becomes focused 35% faster. So does that mean that you would get these every 8 seconds? Because that could be pretty huge. And the True Strike lasts 35% longer, which would take it up to about 20 seconds. And then that really matters, especially because it gives you more time to pause it, kind of like the buff to Reed's debuffs. But yeah, overall, this is very interesting. Like, people were joking about skill Corvus, but he literally has an element of that. You can reduce opponent's block proficiency by 100% and crit into it, doing really well. So that's kind of like somewhere in between Massacre and Crossbones. I'm very curious.
What was your question? Because I thought it was a really good question. I'm trying to see if it was asked and answered already.
If his if the Inhuman Royal Family synergy has been properly updated to affect his focus gain, and if his base crit rate has been improved.
The base crit rate, yeah. I'm not seeing anything on either of those at the moment. How are you feeling about this buff so far?
I'm wondering if they've changed his heavy animation, because I'm not certain on this, but part of me remembers, or wants to remember, that his heavy attack animation was pretty bad for spacing. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I can almost swear I remember him having a really bad heavy range. I'll test it out in a second, but I don't know. The other thing I'm interested in is, you might know this, it says with his fragility debuff that it reduces block efficiency by 50% for each one. So will that stack? Like, can you make that go into the negatives if you land enough of those fragility debuffs?
That's a good point.
It's saying stacking, and as you guys can see, I actually missed that on my read-throughs. I would have highlighted it if I had seen it, if I had noticed that. I was so focused on...
BSCG is saying his heavy reach is amazing, because that's what I remembered, because I have definitely been hit by it in AQ, but that Vega's in my favorite fight.
Yeah, it's an annoying fight. I will say, as someone who just did Inhumans Karina Challenge, I found myself like enjoying playing him in a really weird way.
Yeah, I kind of love his animations.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the like skill cap and heavy reliance with him as much as I do with like Guillotine, because it feels thematically better.
Here's my question though: is what do you use him for?
He seems to me like a hodgepodge of like a lot of different skill champions. So I think he might occupy almost a Strife-like territory. Yeah. Where you kind of use him as a middle ground for a lot of different pieces of utility.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a huge question remains: does he gain that True Strike on activation? Because if he does, then, you know, he kind of starts encroaching on Killmonger territory, where there are advantages to getting the True Strike when you throw your specials, and there are advantages to getting the True Strike when the opponent throws their specials. In most cases, I prefer Killmonger's approach to it, because it means if you're baiting out a special, you don't lose what you worked so hard to gain. You just get it back right as you need it. But there are places where this is better, and he can pause it. And, I mean, you guys know that I'm a big fan of Massacre. I could see him being quite good as a just, like, kind of as a skill Corvus. Like, I know I'm going to get made fun of for that because the joke was already there, but, like, I see the commonalities.
But see, like, Corvus can go unblockable, and then he's got that SIG ability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess, let me phrase it. It's not a flat thought. I'm actually asking it because I want it to be tested. Is what I'm seeing is I'm like, his damage will have to be exceptional for him to be used, I think. Because, like, I thought that was a really good comparison with Killmonger, but Killmonger's got a lot going on, right? The tankiness.
Killmonger's pretty hard to kill, as you saw in my recent.
Yeah. And sometimes there's nodes where you actually don't want to apply a debuff, so I guess that's a thing, and I'm the one talking about the Venn diagram. But Killmonger applies a debuff, right? And this guy doesn't apply it, at least not a damaging debuff.
Right, so he won't trigger cornered, but like he still would be bad against Shrug or something. Because he really wants that disorient and the fragility.
And we're seeing war nodes that punish slow. So True Strike is
True Strike is good, but I still I'd love to have seen, I mean, I feel like it would have been thematic for him to get some kind of decelerate along the lines of anti-venom. Like, he can counter evade, but that would have been a huge niche in the skill champion for him to fill if he could have countered unstoppable without using slow. Now that mostly matters right now because of the untouchables node, but if his True Strike, if that passive being up on him allowed him to then basically get the effects of slow or something like that, and then he could mess with unstoppable without applying debuffs, then all of a sudden I would have been like, this guy is really great. I don't know.
I'll do this. I think, and I realize I'm looking at this through, guys, and again, sorry, chat, we're not keeping up with you quite as much, is if I look at my own roster, as much as I enjoyed playing him, and Jacob, I can't tell if you're kidding or not, but I actually did like playing him in the Inhumans run. I think partially because the Inhumans run was so frustrating. Is will I rank this guy up? I have him at a SIG 140 or something stupid. I pulled him early on in my featured pools, and I'm like, would I rank him up? And I'm thinking probably not, unless the damage is just outrageous. And even then,
excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. I often have other options for that. That being said, if you are a newer player, a progressing player, or this is an early 6-star champion you pull, if his damage is respectable, I think this might be a nice pull. Because, well, think about because you now have the True Strike. You do have someone who can deal with poison there a little bit. You have someone who can kind of deal with non-damaging debuffs, I guess. I guess what I'm saying is I definitely think this takes away the pain of pulling him. Absolutely does.
Yeah.
And the 60% reduction on non-damaging debuffs means that he could be one of the best options for that that node where you dash back twice and you get the active disorient on you.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so I've seen enough in there where, and Fel, I think you called it a hodgepodge. I'm seeing enough where the hodgepodge might actually be usable in scenarios where he might not be the single best for each of them. But again, I'm talking about a growing account where you're okay, I've got my Karnak. He can handle a variety of things for me fairly well. And then I can, maybe you don't take him to rank 3 or something, right? You take him to rank 2. And then as your skill roster starts to fill out with these other options, I could see this potentially being a nice thing. I'm seeing a premium level champion. where you're like, okay,
yeah,
fills a role, depends on your roster. If you really like him, he can do things. Like a 15-second True Strike that can be paused. That's nice. That's a really...
Especially if it's a 20-second True Strike.
definitely.
Why I missed something? I'm missing the joke.
Oh, well, it's not a joke because like that is what the Medusa in Human Royal Family Synergy should do.
Thank you.
And now that she's available as a 6-star, and I'm assuming they're going to fix Black Bolt at some point. Not that he's terrible, but he's way out of date. The three of them could be really interesting together because that was always the problem with running Medusa. You're like, Medusa's great, Black Bolt is like okay, and Karnak adds nothing because none of his utility really comes together. But now it could.
Is it
like it's worth running a hodgepodge if their synergies are great?
Is it Nebula that had a synergy or yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Senile Vega moment. All right, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued to play this guy. I'm intrigued to play this guy, and I think there's a chance where the damage becomes pretty crazy. But is it good enough? You can't just live on damage alone in this game anymore.
No.
Nah.
I think he could end up being like a less finicky Ronin, and I do not mean that as an insult at all. Because I do think Ronin is still underrated a bit, but there are some parts of playing him that are annoying.
Yeah.
There's definitely a skill cap with this guy, but I feel like he could potentially occupy a similar role and do it better.
Yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Seems like folks aren't overly excited about him.
Yeah, I fully expect him to not be widely embraced. I mean, I compared him to Masacre for one thing, and that's still somebody where not a lot of people are a fan of him.
I will say this, if I want to go on the kind of negative side of it, is reading through this, there was stuff that I wish had just been put into Masacre. But that's very, very selfish. And yeah. All right.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I want to give you guys both a chance to... was there anything else you guys wanted to see with Knull?
Knull. Oh, darn. I won. Oh, sorry, go first.
I was just going to say, I'm kind of curious of seeing him without recoil and just like maybe against Winter Soldier or something, take a bunch of hits to the face, and then how well does he heal back up without that?
Okay, so knowing that there's at least one thing, Fel, let's go Fel first in the DLL. Do you guys have anything in closing you guys want to say about what you're thinking on the Karnak buff here?
For me, I'm a bit mad that he seems to be a bit of a hodgepodge because that does not fit his character at all. He's about exploiting specific pressure points, which makes me think he should be a character that performs in maybe a few niches, but does incredibly in those niches. This doesn't feel like he's exploiting pressure points. This feels like he's throwing the kitchen sink at his opponent.
And I don't think I agree. Because I see it feels fairly thematically cohesive to me. Like, the niche that he occupies may not be clear yet, but I think the kit is built pretty well to go in a few specific directions. And I think I actually disagree with the chat a bit. I'm still cautious on this, but I'm more excited by this than the Nebula buff.
I agree. I think Nebula was a lot more, or the Nebula buff was a lot more obviously good, right? Like you could see right off the bat, look, she's getting all these shocks. She can pause these shocks. She can make them. She can reduce ability accuracy from her charges. Whereas here, there's a lot of different things split into different parts of his kit that you kind of need to look at in unison. And it'll be a bit hard to consider it in unison until he actually comes into the game and we can see how he plays.
Yeah. I think this is definitely... I think this with all the buffs. We got to play him. Like, like Diablo was like, okay, there's a thing here. And it took like 15 minutes of playing him from being like, okay, this guy's really good. But you got to play him. We got to play him. So, all right. I'll go ahead and shut this down. This being the Karnak buff here, but I'm glad we covered it. And there we go. Trying to make sure I don't accidentally like shut down the whole computer or something. And then let's Fel, before I take off the recoil tree masteries, was there anything else you wanted to try to see on Knull?
Yeah, so my main thing is I kind of wanted to see how he synergized with Reed, and I'm surprised you didn't bring that up, DLL. With
I did earlier.
Reed's... Oh, you did? Oh, my bad. I have bad memory. Anyways, I want to see how he synergizes with Reed's suppression debuff, because we saw how powerful his like built-in power suppression already is from those armor breaks. But with Reed, that's 90% power suppression. So
Right.
I want to see how little power they gain.
We need to bring up the fact that most champions you fight do not have 100% combat power rate. They have a little bit over that. So that 90%, you're not going to take them down to 10%. It might be like 15. But it still should be extremely powerful.
And then just one more thing, I kind of wanted to say this earlier. I was reading through Aunt May, and I think I might have found a cause for why we had that issue with the conversion during corruption. So the way it specifically, or what it specifically says under corruption passive in Aunt May, is on activation, convert all living abyss debuffs. So what I'm thinking is the issue is the fact that the game is registering that corruption is already active because you already have an active corruption on.
Yeah.
So it's not registering that reactivation as an activation. It's saying, oh, you already have corruption. And so instead of converting those into armor breaks, it's just flushing those living abyss debuffs down the toilet.
That's very possible, but it shouldn't do that, because that's kind of like with the Deep Wounds Mastery. When you inflict a bleed, which would kind of be when the bleed is activated, you inflict that direct damage. It doesn't matter if their opponent is already bleeding. So if they can code that correctly, they should be able to fix this.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not backing off on that one. Like, I was doing that frame by frame. It's very clearly an error and needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
I'm throwing in Hood because I love Hood. And he just has so many synergies that are just really helpful. Like, he really does. I've got I even have Wellington next week, actually, as I look at it. Like, I'm scheduled as far as videos that are supposed to come out and when. And so I don't know where I'm going to fit in a Hood video in there. But if I find time, I actually want to make one. He's just part of a lot of cool stuff. All right. So we've got Reed. I'm sure everyone saw I did take Knull to Sig 200. I want to do it anyway because I want to see what that's like. And so that's gonna, this is now a 6-star ring 3. DL, you did say the petrification ray, right? The defender's regeneration and power gain.
The suppression one, actually.
Do you want to see the suppression alone, or do you want to see both?
Probably both, because he has so many armor breaks that one more debuff isn't going to matter with despair. Okay. But yeah, the difference between reversing his regens and converting them to degens might be obvious there.
Can I just say, try going for medium heavy from the parry, because you have time to go for it if I remember right.
Yeah. This is my war background coming in.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's built into so many of us to be like, maybe don't do something that's going to get you hit.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah. I remember back in the day, my alliance would always tell me that, because I would watch their gameplay of fighting a Medusa in a random quest and not hitting into their auto block. I'm like, dude, she's not going to stun you. This is an alliance war.
So I shouldn't.
That one I do. I hit into her auto block all the time.
I shouldn't have done the SP1. And then the other thing is I'm not taking advantage of going unblockable and unstoppable. When so I did it right there again, and then I tried to take advantage of it. So that was a really poor showcase. Let's do that again.
Although I will say that because you were not hitting into him when the encroaching corruption expired and then came back, I was watching the activations and the math all checked out correctly on that one.
Interesting.
One
So
more
it might have something to do with the conversion on hit, and if you're converting it once the timer ticks over.
I think it's because they just didn't properly set it up for when things are going both directions at once.
Wait, one more time? I was not hitting into him when the... Can you explain that one more time?
Yeah, because the first time you were landing symbiote attacks as corruption activated.
Yeah.
And so, like, landing symbiote attacks converts armor breaks into living abyss.
Yeah.
Corruption activating converts living abyss into armor breaks. So the conversion was going both directions, and I think that's what causes the bug.
The problem. Interesting.
Because whenever it's just one, I haven't noticed a problem yet.
You know, Phil, I just can't do it because I don't want to create that as a habit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't blame you at all. Everyone is different, and there are certain things that I do not do specifically to avoid building habits. So much of Alliance War just is a function of instinct. You don't always have time to specifically think, oh, this person is only running 1 point in limber. I have time.
Yeah.
Like, you're just functioning. You have to be careful with what you build into the muscles.
Yeah, I tend
Or
to
at least
always
us
try
old
to...
farts do.
I mean, did we even get to really see what you're hoping? I mean, he just destroys that.
Yeah, that was
Maybe.
pretty nuts.
Could we take a minute to against like Labyrinth of Legends Starlord or something? Honestly, I think we might need that kind of health pool to see the true effect.
Yeah. And I guarantee, and this is why I don't want to do it, because I'll do that sometimes in just general questing. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's parry, land in medium, and then heavy. And what we're saying is, in war, you almost never want to do that because the opponent's probably running limber. And so, like, you're developing the habit of not doing that. But in questing, you know, unless the node has limber, you can do it. But because I'm trying to also think through what I'm doing and what we're testing here, I'm worried about kind of undoing the habit I've built. So
we didn't see the difference between the regen and the degen, but I did notice that because you're running max petrify, right?
It's actually only 2 of 3.
Okay, that's still enough because we talked about suppression plus the 65% getting to 90, and then 20% from 2 points in petrify would get you the rest of the way. I just played it back, and I noticed that while he was stunned, he was gaining literally no power. Not almost no power, literally no power when you were hitting him.
Because of the read.
Oh, I like that.
Because of the read pre-fight?
Yeah, because you were up to 110% combat power rate reduction, and if you run 3 points in petrify, it would have been 120.
Here's one that I'm not understanding. Why would we care? I mean, not that going unblockable is ever bad, but why would we? Is it just, why is that there? Do you guys have any theories?
It's kind of like the storm synergy for Black Panther. Or like, you know how sometimes...
Yeah, but those champions get a benefit from intercepting with their specials.
But sometimes you can, like, I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you're using Doom on Ebb and Flow Intercept, you can sometimes get the Fury from the Intercept by throwing his Special 2 into a charging champion.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, my guess is just so you can yeet your special into the opponent with reckless abandon.
Yeah, it also makes him better on things like Encroaching Stun, because you're like, nope, 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 and just throw it.
I was excited to see Venom Pool in there, because that's the only synergy they have. But then that allows what should be, and let's not go down the road again, because I will be upset by it, but the modified attack, because that should trigger all that, I would think. Yeah. What's up, Mohammed? An awakened Karnak looks like you'll be reaching SP2 before the defender reaches first special, kind of like Emma. Huge damage with the poison, friendly liking it, but utility will.
Well, but that's only true if you wait for the focus, right? Or I don't know, I can't remember.
Well, the hitting into block, remember, because you're gaining was it like 100 and was it 125%? It's only 110. Yeah. Okay,
but that's going to be at full sig, right? Like that's always the thing is they put out. That's still one of my primary complaints about spotlights is that they never give you the minimum. It's always look how great it is at sig 200. Show me
it's
like
sig 1. It's like 20%.
Yeah, show me the realistic. Like, what's it gonna look like when he's 660?
It's a negative 60% combat power rate.
You lose power for hitting their block.
For your
Screw you.
for your
Buy
whole-
Sig Stones.
Yeah, it's for your
And there's an Easter egg that says you're bad and you should feel bad that pops up. Yeah.
But aside from that, it's awesome.
Damn free-to-play player.
It's just, this is only... this wouldn't do anything for him, right? Because this is just... this is debuffs. It's not... Is this degen? Oh, let's see what happens.
So I was actually thinking about that earlier, how it might work with his instant bleeds, but it says damage over time, so I don't think his instant bleeds would count for that. But for his degen, I could definitely see that being nice.
So this is where this is, again, like a next level of playing Knull. Go to the SP3.
That's
For
what
long fights, I think so.
Siddhant is saying, yeah.
So go to SP3 and then just rotate SP2s. Or just,
Yeah, maybe SP2s and SP1s. I'm not sure, though.
I really, let's just screw around. And feel free to shout out. I know normally I'm like, please don't shout out while I'm playing, but in this one, go ahead and say like, hey, try this or try that, and we'll see what we can do.
One thing that I think is fully impossible to test
Yeah.
is because like the whole instant thing, oh well, it's not that, but if you think about Darkhawk in, I think it's his Knull mode off the special 3, he applies instant shocks, but they are coded as individual debuffs. So if you have ever made the mistake of fighting Darkhawk, or of fighting Killmonger with Darkhawk, and using that special 3, he gains power every single time you hit him, and each individual one can trigger masochism. So the question with Knull is, how are these bleeds coded? Are they, do they count as damage over time, or is it a burst of damage? And if they count as damage over time, are they active or passive? BMCG says no, just special 3 spam. Keep build Living Abyss debuffs, launch special 3, then try to keep looping them.
Is the white Magneto pre-fight not working?
He is not neither metal nor hero.
But aside from that... Sorry, we got to start over, guys.
I think I make that mistake in assignments once a season.
That was hilarious.
Yo, when are we gonna get like wags but for villains? Come on, man.
Yeah.
You have to have villain equality here.
I was like, why is Limber kicking in? It's funny how I realized Limber was kicking in, but I did not think about why Limber would be. I was just immediately assumed the game wasn't working.
'Tis a bug.
How is this dude not metal? Or is
Yeah.
it, or is,
I don't know how he's not. Oh wait, actually, it kind of makes sense.
I was gonna
Like
say-
in the comics.
is it a lore thing? Yeah, please tell us.
Yeah, so in the comics, he's presented as being completely naked in the darkness until the Celestials come, and then he pulls out shadow stuff and makes his sword, his armor, all of that out of shadows. So, it looks a lot like metal, but it's not metal. Don't look too far into it.
You know what though? Oh, no. I was enjoying learning. I forgot to put on the Mr. Fantastic pre-fights. I'll put those on. That actually is cool. So I like that though. Like these sorts of things in the game where they take like, this is actually how it is in the comics. Like Vibranium in Magneto. Like how he can't, he doesn't magnetize it, right? Killmonger, I'm having trouble talking. Black Panther. So I like that. I think that's cool. So he makes these out of the shadows?
Yeah, pretty much.
How are you liking him in comparison to like what you were hoping?
So he's a little bit worse than what I was hoping.
Yeah.
And I think you guys saw that in the very first day we got his abilities. I was a bit pissy in the Discord, I'll be honest. But I very quickly warmed back up to him, and I'm like just as excited as ever to go for him and hopefully get him. Like I said this yesterday, I think when I was talking to Jacob or Slay or someone, I was saying that getting Knull might actually be what finally convinces me to unlock the recoil tree.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, man. Oh, he's just so cool. My God.
I think I'm going to struggle to keep these Mr. Fantastic pre-fights up, but I kind of really want to. I'm also surprised that I am not taking more block damage than I am.
Yeah, I think it's... Oh, wait, no. I'm pretty sure that's only during corruption. But I think you're getting a lot of healing from the poison, which is kind of offsetting your block damage.
It's got to be, right?
Especially because you have debuff siphon up as well, so...
I'm going to kind of forget about the Mr. Fantastic pre-fights, because then that's going to involve landing the heavy over and over.
Yeah.
I guess we can get it on knockdowns, though, if we wanted to involve the SP2. 3,300 is a really big number. You guys seeing that?
Oh, that damage.
Holy cow.
Thank you for this. This is just reminding me why I'm saving 6-star shards and why I've been grinding units so I can go for his calves.
I hope you get him, buddy. Oh, that's
Thanks,
good.
man.
So should I be going for Living Abyss now, or should I still go for Armor Break, in your opinion?
I would convert to Living Abyss now.
So,
but
yeah, because now what are we going to end up with?
I think... Okay, so those armor breaks are paused as long as you have corruption, so they should just stay paused since you're reactivating your L3.
Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, it seems like they do. Great.
So how do I get more than this? Because there is a way to do it.
I'm pretty sure to actually get more, you're going to want, without losing a lot or having to screw with the duration, you're going to want to convert them all down to Living Abyss. Then you're going to want to let the corruption wear off, and then during the downtime between corruptions, you're going to want to build up more Living Abyss with your attacks, and then go back into corruption. So then you're going to have more armor breaks than you did before, assuming you converted all of those armor breaks back in Living Abyss, though with 44, that's a bit of a tall order.
So honestly, that's what I thought you were supposed to do. Okay, there's also an example where I think the SIG ability is nice. I don't think he ends up playing out that way. It's a really weird thing.
Yeah, I think it'll kind of be about, if you want to do that, you'll have to be okay with not having as many debuffs. Like with 20 or 30 even, I think that genuinely could be a practical strategy, but of course in long form content, it might just be better to stick with this method, like ramp up a lot. And you see, he's doing really nice damage here already. You're getting like, yeah, that was a 15k medium crit. Like, this damage is nowhere near bad.
Oh no, this is excellent damage, considering the variety of utilities he's got. Okay, so while we're at the SP3, let's talk this through and try to do it. So I want to see if I can heal him up too. So I'm going to end combos in mediums, and then when do you feel I should throw the SP3 again?
So try to convert as many... Okay, since the SP3 instantly inflicts corruption and there's no timer there, you're going to want to wait until you can convert all of that back down into... Or as much of it as possible. You're going to want to wait till you can convert as much of it as possible back into Living Abyss, and then build up however many Living Abyss debuffs on top of that you want to during the downtime, and then activate your L3, and all of that will be converted into armor breaks.
Okay. I believe I understand what you're saying. And I feel like you and I read him similarly. Like, this is what I actually thought I was supposed to do, quote unquote. Like, for maximum.
Yeah. Just that in practice, it might be a bit different, yeah.
So, okay, so should I throw it now, in your opinion?
Yeah, go for it. Let's see if that works.
Here's what happens with those 23 armor breaks. This is kind of what...
They'll pause again, but I don't think they have their duration refreshed.
Interesting. Let's see what happens. So I'll go back to lights. I keep forgetting about the unblockable. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. I keep forgetting, and then I went in too late. That is 100% my fault. I'm sorry, guys. It didn't take that long. I want to do that again. Do you have time to do that again, Fel?
Yeah, of course.
I know it's, what is it, like 3 a.m. for you?
1:50 actually, and I'm still on leave, so it doesn't matter. I wake up fairly late anyways.
Actually, guys, you know what? I'm gonna get out a video on Knull, because I do want to get out my opinions on him. I'm gonna test a few more things. I know the stream's kind of gone on. I know it's really early in the morning for Fel, and I know DL probably has a War Alliance attack to start planning. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream. Yeah, if you guys have any more ideas on like where you want to see him tested or something like that, please try to comment in, not in the chat here, but in on somewhere on one of my videos or in the Discord server. I want to test him out because I think he's a really interesting champion. I like I said, I'm not like in love with him, but I do really like him, and I feel like he's someone who might be suited to continue to improve in the game as it seems to be evolving. But I think we want to test that. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank everyone for the chat. I know we didn't interact quite as much as we normally do today, and I'd like to give the guys a chance to say, to close out. Thank you very much, Fel and DL, for being here, dropping knowledge, sharing that with us. I appreciate it. These guys both have really cool channels. They're doing different things with them, but I do highly suggest checking them out. And DLL's is linked in the description, and I'll update it with Fel's too. So if anyone's interested, they can check that out too. I don't know if DLL is here, so Fel, why don't you go ahead and say sound off or sound off? I don't know if that's the right word. First.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing what Knull is made of and hearing our and Vega's opinions on the Karnak buff. Have a good day, everyone. I hope you get some good crystal pools very soon.
Yeah, this was fun. I'm definitely curious to see how this evolves. Because, I mean, like you say every time, there's only so much testing any one person can do. And I'm interested to see, like, where he's good that other people aren't. How much does he really matter for War? Because Campo commented on the Cosmic video for the current series I'm doing, and is like, man, the Cosmic class is really kind of light on heavy-hitting War attackers, isn't it? And if he can change that, then automatically he's better because the bar is arguably lower. But we'll see.
That's a good point. All right, guys, I gotta go. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. We will catch you all really soon. Oh, Fluffy Pig Monster. It was Karnak. And go to about 45 minutes in this stream, and we kind of review his abilities and theorize on where he may or may not be useful. Thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Fel and DL. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.